welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I am your host, Rob Z. Thank you for being here and being a part of this platform. So as you know, this podcast was created to help you break those chains that have been holding you back in your life. This podcast is about perseverance. It's about helping you find breakthrough, because everything in life is about breakthrough. If you are stuck, you need that breakthrough to see a higher level of your potential, your God-given potential that we've all been given in our lives. So I want to thank you and honor you just for being a part of this platform. Thank you to the sponsors who make this possible: the Author Millionaire Academy, the Connected Leaders Academy, and Unleash You Now. Today on the show, we have an amazing guest, Maribeth Decker. So Maribeth is a gifted intuitive animal communicator, medical intuitive, and energy healer, renowned for founding sacredgrove.com, a haven for holistic healing and connection between people and pets. With a compassionate approach, she adeptly addresses animals' physical, emotional, and behavioral challenges through intuitive communication and energy healing. Maribeth's rich life experiences, including her background as a retired Navy officer, infuse her work with heart-centered wisdom, guiding clients towards peace, comfort, and profound bonds with their beloved animals. I love that. And Maribeth, I love having you on here. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so excited to talk, Rob. Thanks for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Now, the question I'm going to ask you seemingly has nothing to do with your bio. So I'm excited to see how we get there, right? But This episode of the Unstuck movement is about losing your spouse. So the question I want to ask you is how did you survive losing your spouse at a young age? And how does that play into your unstuck story of where you are today? Let's dive into that. So let's talk a little bit about that to kick things off. How did you survive that experience? And give a little background on what happened.
Well, my husband, Winston, was 45 and I was 42. We had 2 kids in the house and 2 dogs. My son was 10 and my daughter was 8. And a Tuesday morning, I was upstairs getting the kids ready for school, and I heard Winston call my name, and I heard a big thud. I ran downstairs, and he was face down, flat on the floor. And my son Pat came down with us. We turned him over, and he had trouble breathing, so we assumed something was going on. Called 911. He had a heart attack, and he passed away right then and there. Everybody did what they could, but it was over. Mm-hmm. So actually it's 25 years this year that he passed. And how quickly can you get shoved into a new reality? There's many people have experienced it. Mine was, you are now a single mom. You got a full-time job. You're going to have to raise these kids by yourself. You're going to have to continue to bring money into the household, and you're going to have to be coherent about it. You are not allowed to go nutsy crazy. I was overwhelmed, truthfully. So something I learned when I got sober, which is another story, but a day at a time, a minute at a time, you just do the next thing, then the next thing, and the next thing. And oh goodness. And my focus at this point, and I think you have to have a focus for keeping on, for persevering. Because there was a part of me that said, I'm not sure I want to go on. I'm not sure I want to live this new life somebody just handed to me. But I looked at my kids and I thought, that's my job now, getting those guys raised. And that for many years, it was my focus. That was what my motivation was. And it also was to keep on bringing in enough income. We were in a lucky place where we could I could keep the kids in the same house. That was a big deal to me because a friend of mine lost her husband and they had to move in with their parents. So when she had to move in with their parents. And so on top of everything else for her kids, uh, the neighborhood changed, the friends changed. I wanted to keep that for my guys. And as they grew older, when we got into teenage years, I had to make a lot of decisions, and I wasn't perfect, but I somehow came from the place of love rather than just the intellectual, like what is best for my kids. And I'm saying that like not perfectly, but the best I could fathom, the best intuition that I could give. What do we do? How do I maneuver? That's not really the word, but how do we navigate this so that we get through and get them as adults who can function in the world?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll stop there because that's really what got me go through the next probably 10 years or so was that.
I want to just acknowledge how unbelievably difficult that must have been. And I can tell just even 25 years later, it's still a really difficult thing and
Yeah.
that nobody should ever have to go through. So I'm so sorry that you went through that and that your kids went through that. How, because I think like, obviously you had to be really strong to get through it. You also didn't have a choice to get through it, right? You had like this, you've got to pick yourself up and keep going. What are some of the lessons that you learned through that? And how did that impact you?
It's hard. It's hard to say that there are gifts of something so horrible, but there are. Um, my Please don't ask my kids if they agree with this, but I believe that my parenting became deeper. Like I was like, because I've made mistakes. My golly, I don't think anybody who's a parent can ever say I did it perfectly. But I learned how to focus more clearly on what was best for them. Before that, honestly, I was really enjoying seeing what I could, how far I could go in the business world. And my shift went to kids. And that was a lovely learning experience for me. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say it, but it was a gift to be able to shift it from my ego to what do my kids need.
Mm-hmm.
um,
I think that's a thing that I definitely struggle with that,
ah,
wanting to
yeah,
have a successful business, but also wanting to make sure I know my son's 9 and he's not going to want to hang out with me as much in about 3 years. So getting that time in and there's a tug and there's a battle going on between those two things.
yeah. Thanks for saying that. And so that was really a gift for me. It just there was a forcing absolutely of saying no, fewer business trips. You got to be there. You got to be there for your kids. And the other gift was, this is pretty cool. Is I remember being in the bedroom and my husband's passed, right? But I'm having a conversation with him and I'm saying, you don't get to stop parenting just because you died, Winston. You better watch out for those kids. And I do believe that there were times in their lives where they had a choice point, particularly as teenagers. And I felt like Winston was grabbing them and saying, yeah, don't go there. I know your friends are going there. Don't go there. And just kept an eye on them. And so that was a gift of knowing that the people who love us, even in spirit, are still watching out for us, doing as much as they can. I don't know how exactly that works, but I know for a fact that was true. And that was another gift of knowing there's still that connection.
That's
What are they? Okay, yeah, I'll stop for a sec here.
well, that's really, really good, because going through all of that, I think there's such an important part of life, and you and I were talking about this before we started, to find a gift in everything. There's blessings in everything. If you want to look, I think that, our God is a God of reconciliation, and he's also redeeming, right? So he redeems things that have bad things that have happened to us. So if we stick through it, we have faith, we'll see a redemption in the things that have happened. And so finding those blessings in that is like, oh wow, that's there's always a silver lining as long as we look for it and as long as we strive for it. How was it, over the first like couple of years and stuff? How hard was it you to look for a silver lining, or did you never even see it until hindsight, looking back, is like 2020 and you saw it happen?
In the beginning, it was just survival. Honestly, there was no gee, there certainly is a gift in this. Now that I have, my income has been decreased because I don't have the same job as I had before because I can't go everywhere. So, oh, wow. And my family loved and loved Winston, they were grieving. So that it's interesting. You think it's just between you and the person who passed, but there was shifts in my family about the grief they were having and how they were experiencing his loss. And that I felt that. So I was definitely just trying to make it through. And then there was a point where I could say, well, what good? There's always good here. As you say, redemption. There's always, no matter how bad it is, something can be given to us that is good. And where is it? But that took a while to see that, that we came together to have children together and create children together. And that was really important to both of us at some soul level. And we got to do that. And that was also a gift to know that that was something that he desired so deeply. And he got to do that and be with them, at least for the first 10 years.
Yeah. So how does this transition? I think first of all, you said that you had spoken to your husband after he had passed, and you told me before we started here that you actually had another encounter with him where you guys went through some forgiveness for one another, and then leading that into being speaking, intuitively to animals and to dogs. So what's the connection there? what does that look like? How do you perceive that happened, and like how did that all? And then it sounds like your life went through like a transformation. So like how did that go?
It did. Thank you for asking that, because I pondered that and I keep looking and saying, how did that happen? But the shift from being solely focused on, I'm going to call it ego, like how well am I doing in my business? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And moving over and opening my heart to compassion for what do my kids need. Then there was, let's see, how do they say it? I think that then spirit offers you like, hey, I got something else for you. Hello. And that was through massage. I got this urge out of nowhere to do massage. And I had such a lovely company I worked for. They let me take classes. And there I met somebody who taught energy healing, and we did energy healing. And by itself, massage, I've met massage therapists, other ones, of course. There's something about getting quiet and listening to the body that is more than just physical. There's an intuitive part. So that started opening up. Then the energy healing, where you're just dealing with the energy of the body and the energy of bringing spirit in to clear things out. That opens up the intuitive. And for me, that meant my dogs started communicating with me. I got a visual from my dog Timothy, showed up in the dining room one day to say hello, and things like that. And it just happened. Now, at that point, I said, what is going on? And my friend said, that's called animal communication. And I'd already been dealing with people, working with people. I got trained and I started working with people and their animals. And when people come to me as an animal communicator and healer, their hearts are so open. They love them so much. They're willing to talk to me. It's a joyful experience, even in the worst cases. And the animals are so lovely to work with. So it was step by step. When one thing opened, you paid attention. The next thing opened, you paid attention. The next thing opened, you pay attention. And I think it started very sadly with Winston's passing.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
When you're working with somebody and their animal, what does that look like? Like, what is, if you, I mean, you don't have to name names or anything, but give me like a scenario of like, what does that look like?
Well, first it's telepathic, it's mind to mind. So it's not like I'm reading their body language. So we usually have an issue, and say there's a very frightened cat and it's just a kitten, and I'll go back and say to the kitten, what the heck happened? What happened? And I get a picture. In this case, sometimes I get words, but a lot of times pictures. There's a lot of visuals about what happened, and I explained it to the person. There was some trauma when the cat was small. It was a feral family, and so there were predators. Let me just say that much, okay? Cat survived, but very scary. So we went back using some techniques I had to clear the energy of that experience out, and brought the kitten, seems like we brought the kitten back to the now time, and noticed that she noticed that her kitten had a lot more play, a lot less fear, all this sort of thing. So that's one quick explanation of what I do. There's lots more, but that's one of the ones I've done recently.
How interesting. So and this kitten beforehand was like what, despondent, like not really playing, or?
Well, yeah, she'd have times of playing, but she spent a lot of time under the bed or in the closet, and her person was, well, yeah, people, dog people, we just love them. And it's just sad that this kitten felt like she couldn't be out. So despondent's a good word. Yeah, just not spending the whole time having fun being a kitten. Yeah, so now she moved over into a lot more joyful times and play times, and showing more affection to her person, that sort of thing.
It sounds like people we spend a lot of time not enjoying life, not enjoying the people around us, right? We get right, like you were saying, you had this battle between your ego, this trying to be successful, and then this relational part of you who wanted better relationship with your kids and the people around you. And we often get caught up in all the nonsense of the programs that have been given to us by other people, right? Of like, you need to do this, you need to do that. These are the important things in life. These are not the important things in life. Focus on your career, focus on money, that sort of stuff. Where am I going? Not where I'm being right now. I had a dream a number of years ago. My grandma had passed, and I had a dream with her, and we were driving down the road, and she was driving the car, and she leaned over and she hugged me during the dream. And I started saying, Graham, you're going to wreck the car. What are you doing? And she said, don't worry about where we're going. Just love me. And she said, don't worry about where you're going. Just love people. All right. And so I think about that a lot. And I know that was God, like, just giving me that message of, right, I'm worrying too much. And I still struggle with this. It's not like it fixed itself overnight, but worrying too much about where I'm going and how I'm going to do it and how I'm going to figure it out, and not worrying as much or focusing as much on people and my relationships and how I'm treating others and those sorts of things, because that's what really matters. So that comes up to me a lot in my mind when things like today, you and I were going to get on this podcast, and I was locked out of my office, right? And I was getting frustrated, and I was thinking, it's interesting how that comes up over and over and over again. It's like, don't worry about it. It's going to work itself out. Like, but you get a little fired up in the moment. You start to like blame people or get mad about something. And it's like, everybody's just doing the best that they can, generally all around.
Yeah.
So towards the end of this, I want to ask you two questions. Just as advice to other people who are watching this right now or listening to this. The first goes to losing a spouse. So maybe somebody, they see the title of this episode and it spoke to them, obviously, because they've lost a loved one in their life. What advice do you give to somebody? Or what would you say to somebody who has lost somebody in their life to help them? I know there's a million things you could say. It's kind of a big question, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to ask it to you anyways. What advice would you have for somebody who had lost someone? How could you help them through that difficult time?
I would say I'm going to listen for the best response I can give. First off, don't give up on life. Please don't give up on life. I'm almost crying. There's still beauty in life for you, even without that individual that you lost. There absolutely is. So please wait for it, persevere, trust that you will find a way for there to be joy in your life again. Just trust that. I think it would be the biggest thing. See if there's anything else. Another one I would say is you're not going to walk through this perfectly. You're going to probably do things that you go, I cannot believe you said that, you did that. Please forgive yourself. Just know that you're surrounded with love. You're doing the best you can, and keep moving forward, feeling like you're surrounded with love, because you are. I apologize, it's not like practical advice, but it's the stuff that got me through.
Well, it's the overarching theme, right? Like,
yeah,
to hold on to that theme. And I think giving yourself grace, that's so important.
It is.
Man, because that's just in general. I have not, thank God, lost anybody. My grandma had passed away, my grandparents, but yeah, I just know, like, from the things I go through, just in day-to-day things, you have all these blames or regrets, stuff that you beat yourself up for. Just give yourself grace, right? That you're not going to get it right, and then people aren't going to get it right.
Yeah, and there's something, the grieving brain, it's not working as well. It's just not, as I said, it just doesn't work as well as it probably did before. So that's there's the brain stuff is just not doing it. So that's why I'm really saying people will probably look back on what they did and say, how the heck? And even in regular times, as you're saying, but I think the grieving brain is even tougher in making interacting with people, I guess is the best way to say it.
That's really good. And the last question, how do people build better relationships with their pets?
God, it's a great question. I would ask if you want to get a better relationship with your pets, assume that they have as much of a personality and a life and an emotional life as you do. And don't underrate them. They have empathy, they have sympathy, they have fear, anxiety, they have thoughts. Connect with them through your heart. Talk to them through your heart. Even use visuals, because visuals work really well from the animal communication standpoint. Picture things that you're thinking about that would make you happy. And then, okay, here's the last one that comes through. Spend one-on-one time with them. We are so good at creating the to-do list, sitting in front of the Zoom camera. Spend one-on-one time with them. No laptops, no cell phones, no AirPods, just hanging out with them.
So basically the same advice we should have for ourselves, for people, for our kids, for our spouse.
Please, yeah, treat them with just as much respect and love. They will respond.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Maribeth, this has been, I could talk to you for a long time, and I feel like we should have a episode number 2 down the road at some point, because I think just talking about the people love their pets, especially the dogs, so much, right? And cats, but dogs seem to be at the top of the list. I would love to have a deeper conversation about that, because I think that's something that people really cherish, right, in their life. The people hold their dogs so close to them and their pets so close to them, those relationships. So I'd like to continue this conversation down the road, but I want to ask the audience this question as we sign off. So how are, just to, if you're watching, listening, preparing yourself, not preparing yourself for somebody passing away in your life, because I don't want to say that, but I just want to say, like, how are you going to prepare your heart for difficult things that come to you in your life, right? Preparing yourself, like, difficult times are going to come. So preparing yourself in that way. And I think that a conversation like this, these are very important conversations to have. I would suggest reaching out to Maribeth. All of her information will be in the bio of this episode, so you can reach out to her and contact her. And just, there's a great practice that is a leadership practice, actually, to help you become a better leader. And it's morbid, but visualizing yourself in your casket. So visualizing yourself in your casket and seeing all the people around you. Who's there to see you at your viewing? What have you accomplished at your viewing? And how happy are you with your life? And a lot of those things come down to who is there with you. How have you made an impact on other people in your life? It's a very interesting exercise. I'm not saying it's fun, right? It's kind of, it's a little bit dark, but it helps to illuminate, like, wow, and when this thing's all over, because it's going to be all over for all of us at one point in time, what kind of impact did you leave on the earth? How did you touch people and affect people? And it can really help you to see where your shortcomings are and where you might not be doing things exactly the right way. So thank you just for bringing that to mind for me. Thank you for being vulnerable enough, for sharing all of this. Is there anything that you want to share before we sign off?
Real quick, if there are people whose animals are declining, I did write a book, Peace in Passing, and Comfort for Loving Humans During Animal Transitions, which might also help people. That's why I wrote it, to help you through the spot. And that's all I'll say, other than thank you so much. I loved our conversation today.
Same here. Thank you for being a part of the Unstuck movement.
I'm glad to be part of it.